This time we'll do roll call.
Vice Chair Sims.
Here.
Mr. Paschal.
Here.
Mrs. Webster.
Here.
Mrs. Fletcher. Here. Ms. Gilroy.
Here.
So at this time, before we go any further, we're going to ask for the approval of the...
Oh, there's one more. So there was a agenda modification. I had that Kristen Beck with AFLOC had wanted to make a presentation today, and that had come in right after the agenda had been sent out. So I would like to put on for the agenda for approval. She's here. She just went to the restroom. Kristen Beck with AFLOC wants to make a presentation to Parks and Rec.
Okay.
So a motion to put that on the agenda.
Can we have a motion from the...
I'll make a motion to put that on the agenda.
We get a second?
Second.
All in favor of?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
So at this point in time, we would go to the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. So everyone has a chance to read over those minutes.
There's no corrections. Motion to approve.
A second?
Second.
All in favor of?
Aye.
So the minutes stand to be approved. At this time, we move to item number 6, introduction of a new alternate board member. Is Kareem Gilroy. Like I say, welcome, Kareem.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So now we move down to number 7. Number 7 is going to be the introduction of number 7 is the new chair and vice chair. So at this point in time, we can take nominations from this group right here. And I got a notice from also Joanne White says she would not want to be considered chair or vice chair. So we can take motions from the current board right here.
Would you do it, Matt?
If asked, I would say yes, but if not...
Okay. I would like to nominate Matt Sims for chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
So, I guess I'll be the new chair. So thank you, guys.
I nominate Mr. Paschal for the vice chair position.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. At this point in time, we're going to go down to the unfinished business, which is unfinished business, but we do have, so we're going to okay. There's no unfinished business, so we're going to move on to public input. Any input from the public?
John 10 Rovers, 310 South Winboro. I'm back. I couldn't stay away. The other thing I have is the dog park. I still drive around most of the parks and I keep an eye on them. So if I can get a chance to come back to the meetings, I will on Mondays, okay? As of tonight, there was one vehicle that pulled right through the sign that says authorized vehicles only at the dog park with a trailer and drove right down the path where you walk all the way to the back corner. 3 times over the weekend, another vehicle did the same thing. So I don't know what the answer is. Mr. Griffin, I don't know if you want me to go to the PD or code enforcement on this or what. Because the signage is out there, authorized vehicles only.
Does the chair wish me to answer?
Yes.
I guess the police department, that's where, it wouldn't be code, but that'd be the police department, John.
Okay. As I was leaving, my wife was calling the dispatch to dispatch an officer out there, so I have no idea what transpired since I was here. So
Is it the same?
there's 2 vehicles.
Okay.
This one tonight was different than the other ones, yeah.
Maybe just get a tag number and...
I will do that, yeah. Other than that, I'm glad to see y'all back together, and I miss it, but I'm going to go on with something else. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Are there any other?
So, Kristen, you can make a presentation under public input.
Here. Hi, Kristen Beck from Florida Outdoor Center. We are looking to hold a a paddling race, kayak, canoe, stand-up paddleboard, as a fundraiser to raise money for scholarships for homeless kids and underprivileged kids to attend summer camp. Normally we do the Wild Sebastian 100 trail run, but in November you could stand up paddleboard out in the preserve because it was so wet, and this April's race didn't happen. So we're looking to hold pretty much a last-minute fundraiser on June 18th out of Riverview Park. We'll set up a triangular course off of the piers, nowhere near the intercoastal waterway, and have loops so paddlers could do a 3-mile or a 6-mile course, and then do a small race right off the shore for kids as young as 4. The water there is really shallow. I'll have my junior guides. We train teenagers from 13 to 17 as our junior guides. We certify them in wilderness and first aid, wilderness and remote first aid. So they'll be trained by June 18th. So they'll be there to help, and already have a core group of about 8 teenagers. I have a board of directors that will be there to assist, and Pete from Paradolia Brewing is willing to host our check-in and our awards party and help us promote it so that we can raise the funds that we need to get the kids out to camp. So
Nice.
I'm looking to,
So my kids regularly are in her summer camp program, and so we're speaking, and so there was a Facebook message out about trying to make donations toward raising money for the scholarships for the children. So I am the one that actually invited Kristen to come and say, is this something that maybe Parks and Rec could sponsor or get behind? I'm not sure, as far as there's protocol as far as going to what you have to do to submit in order to hold it, but I asked her to at least to come in and see if that's something that, Parks and Rec could, maybe put our name behind, or do something of just trying to help encourage involvement and get recognition to recreation in Sebastian, in and around what we're doing as far as they're a nonprofit for trying to get these at-risk youth into a summer camp program. So that was the connection between her coming in and maybe what we want to do as a committee.
Is it for your summer camp?
It's for, A Florida Outdoor Center is a 501c3. It's a nonprofit, so I am the executive director. Susan is our president, and Amy is on our board of directors as well. So, yes, it's a scholarship for our program. Our program is a week long. It's Monday through Friday. We have the kids from 9 until 3. We're teaching them outdoor skills, not just kayaking and stand-up paddleboarding, but we're also teaching them leave no trace. We're giving them an intro to wilderness first aid. I have a degree in marine biology, and I'm also a Florida master naturalist, and I'm a wilderness instructor, survivor instructor. So I'm teaching them outdoor skills, teaching them how to think for themselves, how to observe, how to work together as a team. I love my camp. I wish I could do summer camp all year long.
Has the camp been in the area for a long period of time?
I started it 10 years ago,
Okay.
with a minivan and 5 children. So kayaks on my roof and 5 kids in the minivan and me, and we have grown. Last year we served 162 children for summer camp, and we offer it in the fall, the winter, and the spring. And also I've been working with Pelican Island Audubon Society doing an Audubon Advocates after-school program for 5th graders, teaching them environmental education.
Your next session starts, you say, around what time? Your next session?
Summer camp sessions. Our junior guide program starts June 13th, and that will be a week-long program. And then the first week of summer camp for children 8 and up starts June 20th.
Okay.
We have it every week for summer vacation, except the week of the 4th of July, but we will march in the 4th of July parade.
Okay, so say when it starts June 13th, it's going to go for week increments for the remainder from June 13th to the end of the summer. That's great.
And what's the fee?
The fee is $195 per week.
$195, so if somebody wanted to donate, somebody that's watching, I think people watch us on TV, I'm not really sure. But in the event that they were listening, somebody could donate to sponsor a child?
They could. We have, an Eventbrite, site up for our Up the River with a Paddle, a race to empower local youth, on eventbrite.com, and they could go right on there and make a donation of any amount that they wanted to, or they could contact myself or Susan at A Florida Outdoor Center, 772-202-0220, or aflock.org.
I'll get your information at the end.
Okay,
And then
I'll give you a card.
The other question was, and I'm not sure whether this is in the purview of Parks and Rec, whether we could see about waiving the permitting fee as a way to help sponsor the race, or, what that, I don't know what the fee is involved, or, what that takes, or, but, if in sponsoring it, that is one step that we could take of, taking anything that we can take off their table for running the race, then that money is left over to award toward scholarship.
Mr. Griffin, is that within our, parameters, or could we do anything to help facilitate this?
Well, I'd feel more comfortable if council was aware of it.
Yes, that's what I was gonna ask you.
So-
Is this something that we gotta bring before council? Because I know we just, as a group, cannot make a decision like that. We have to, talk to Mr. Griffin to see if, council would be, in line with this, and to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do from not a Sunshine State standpoint, but from a legal standpoint through the city of Sebastian. So so Mr. Griffin, would you mind, or should I, or would one of us have to bring it up to the council themselves, or?
Well, if you could give me, Mr. Sims, if maybe you could give me some email transmission on what you're requesting.
Okay.
And that you're requesting that I bring this in front of council, and what the parameters of the program are.
Yes.
And then I'll get it on the agenda.
So
That'll be, our next council meeting is June 8th.
So Greg, would you wanna take that on? Okay.
So we're asking them to waive is there a rental fee for the park?
So, yeah, there'd be a fee. And with the atmosphere that's around with regard to free or reduced gratis use of parks, facilities, buildings, we all know what's been going on here lately. It has to be a bona fide 501c3.
Okay.
So, if that paperwork's in place, maybe shuffle that along at the same time.
So,
And I would note, some of the problems we've had along those lines is that somebody registers with the state and calls himself a don't take offense here, it's not about this. Somebody could register with the state and say that they're a not-for-profit, but really, the state doesn't designate that, it's the federal government. So those are the issues that we've run into here lately.
okay.
So they would need to bring their 501c3
Designation
documentation.
from the IRS, yeah, and then, yeah, that'd be good.
And so, Mr. Griffin, so will we bring that to Karen, or we have to bring it to you, or who we bring that to?
Yeah, bring it through Karen or
Okay.
Marissa, and we'll get it done.
So, Christian, would you mind providing all the documents?
Not at all, not
Okay,
at all.
then we can just make sure before we go forward, to make sure that procedure's in place
Yeah.
before we go forward. And then once, if Greg don't mind, type up a letter, and then if Karen could just send it to us, and then we'll be able to see it, then each of us can sign off on it before it goes forward. I think that'd be
I can
pretty good.
also provide, our liability insurance, naming the city as an additional insured, which every time I renew it, I always include the city, because I'm using the park and boat ramps to launch our kayaks from, so.
And then, so what fees are you carrying out as far as, because if you can bring that forward, then if we can have an idea what fees.
We don't pay any
No fees?
fees.
So what are you looking at as far as, we to endorse, or?
Two things. One, just from a standpoint of, just from a namesake of saying, you know, more recognition of saying, for example, my personal idea on it was, whether you want to use the term sanction or anything, that Parks and Rec is supporting is recognizing that this effort is being made to run a kayak race, and the funds from the race directly go into this non-for-profit in order to give underserved homeless children a chance to participate in a summer youth kayak camp. In going out to further get other businesses or other aspects of the community to contribute to the scholarship, it's, you know, it's like an endorsement saying that Parks and Rec is recognizing that this is the effort that's trying to be made. If you go to Hiram's or Auto Depot or Home Depot and say, you know, would you be willing to kick in? Parks and Rec has sanctioned or is behind or endorsing, you know, from a namesake that we're using Parks and Rec, which is then promoting recreation in Sebastian, and that it's for a good cause. Mm-hmm. At a minimum, that's what I was looking for. On top of that, if we can make it easier of waiving a fee, so be it. If not, okay, but at least from the standpoint of recognizing that that's taking place and that we're in support, and whatever that means. Individually, I'm supporting it regardless.
So do you have a scholarship committee? Do you keep the scholarships in the county? Do you have, what are the rules of that?
The scholarships are all in the county, and they are awarded to families on a first-come, first-served basis for families that are on free lunch. So they have to provide, they get a number from the county stating that they're eligible for free lunch, and that's how we do our eligibility. We also have been working with the Hope for Family Center, mm-hmm. so with children that are homeless and living in the homeless facility. We had 14 of them for spring break camp, and we had a private donor fund that camp. And I know I have 10 parents from that group that are contacted me, and I've gotten scholarships from individuals for 5 of them. For my junior guide program, 3 of them are coming to the junior guide program, and the others are younger, and they want to come to the camp. And I was never aware that there were so many homeless children within our county, over 400 of them. Mm-hmm. So if I can help them, give them some life skills, teach them how to respect themselves, how to respect others, how to respect nature, empower them as much as I can through our program, you know, maybe give them a little bit better chance to get out of that situation.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's a good stewardship for the lagoon as well.
Okay.
So my son has been attending this camp for 2 years, and he's gone summer and spring. And I'll tell you.
And your name, ma'am?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Amy Speak. I think everyone but you.
Amy, last name?
Amy Speak.
Okay.
With sorry about that. My son has been attending for 2 years, and out of all the camps my children go to, and they pretty much go to every camp in this county, I swear, not one instills what Kristen does with those kids. She is absolutely amazing. Her heart is in it, and I'm not just saying this because she's my friend, because she was my son's counselor before she was my son, or maybe before she was my friend. That's how we met, actually. And what she teaches these kids about respecting nature and respecting the people around them, and my son was one of the paid children that went during spring break. And what he learned from the children and how to have respect for the children that are less fortunate in our town. And it's just an amazing thing, and we're ready to take on and help those kids be able to learn such amazing life skills. I owe so much to this lady right here for what she has helped my son with, and I can't wait for my daughter to go too. So, and I know Greg's children have gone as well with my son, and I'm almost to tears how much she means to me and her program means. So I hope that you're in full support. So that's all.
So, Ms. Gilroy, do you want to say anything? Oh.
She's good. Yes, I do. I had one question, actually 2. Your program sounds wonderful.
You can come take it too.
I would love to. Did you bring a flyer of some sort to?
I didn't. I came straight from Oslo Road, where I was finishing up the last day of
I was just wondering if you had
5th grade
some
program.
paperwork. The other was as far as first aid and safety. How are you fixed for like, say, an emergency, right on site for the kids?
Right on site I always have a
What
first aid
happens?
kit. I'm, certified wilderness first responder. I have been wilderness EMT. I'm a wilderness first aid instructor.
Your staff is certified?
My staff is certified,
Everything? I was
not
wondering.
just my staff, but all of the teenagers that go through my program are certified through the Red Cross in wilderness and remote first aid. I put monster makeup on them, and we do mock situations throughout the whole week where I have a keyword for one kid and they fall down and pretend their arm is dislocated, and none of the other kids are aware of what's going to happen. So to really put it into as real of a situation as I can, or I'll have one kid that I'll glom some fake blood on their head and have them hide in the bushes somewhere. And
Like first aid mock kind of situations?
yeah.
That's
It's
great.
a fun game I like to play.
No, that's fabulous.
And I raced on the U.S. National Wildwater Kayak Team for 3.5 years. So racing kayaks is kind of my jam. So when they said, let's do a fundraiser, and Greg said a kayak race, I was like, oh yeah, why didn't I think of that?
Okay. Are there any more questions?
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any more questions from the public? Information from the public? Your name?
Hey there, I'm Susan Atherton, and I'm Kristen's president of the board, and I actually do have an email and a flyer. It's a sponsorship package, so should I send it to?
Yes.
Okay.
Or if we want to meet at the end of the meeting?
Okay, I'm sorry, hang on one sec. Okay.
Yes,
that sounds
yes,
good.
that'd be
All
more
right.
appropriate, yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else that want to have public input on this matter, or something going forward?
Hi, I just wanted to know where the launch for the race was planned to be located.
Right. So we're planning to do check-in at Paradolia Brewing Company, and then we'll launch the kayaks from the kayak launch site in Riverview Park.
Okay, only concern I have about that really is that we just put in the oyster mats there, and I've seen people already walking over in them. We're working on getting some signage there to help identify where they are, because it's not really clear. We do have pilings there, but they are very close to shore and to where that launch site is, so you can't go too far north from that immediate launch site. So I wanted to make sure you were aware of that, and I believe...
Yeah, I do know. I was very aware, because I was very vocal about where the oyster mats were going to be put in, because that is such a highly used kayak launch. One, for the oyster safety, but two, more importantly, so that people don't lacerate their feet. So I definitely made it vocal to the Natural Resources Council that they should make sure that it's not directly in front of where that sandy area is, because oyster cuts are nasty, and you can get massive infections and lots of lovely stitches. I've only ever had to send 2 children for stitches for summer camp because they refused to keep their shoes on.
Oh, they need to keep their shoes on. Wicked.
So any more information relating to this topic? So if not, going forward, if is it Christina or Kristen? So Kristen, if you mind, bringing the right, if you don't mind providing the right documents to staff, and then for once staff receive that, if Karen could give us an okay to go ahead, then we'll have Greg to go ahead and submit a letter to Karen, and then when Karen get the letter, it's a case of Greg present the letter to Karen, and Karen can forward it to us, then we get our input, and we can go forward with that. Then Mr. Griffin can present it to council. Well, are there any more input from the public on any other matters? If not, we'll...
I think it's a great idea.
Yes.
I do want to
Yeah,
say that. I think it's a
my
great
support
idea.
as well.
But starting off at Paradola, if you have adults, you should probably go there last. Yeah.
It's at 8 o'clock in the morning. They're not open yet.
Okay, good. Good.
If there's no further input from the public, this part of the meeting is closed. And now, number 10 with new business. And the new business is the citywide Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Has the board members had a chance to look it over and want to make a discussion about it? or Mr. Griffin, do you want to talk about it first? Speak upon it first.
I thought what our strategy would be to collect the score sheets. I would like to see tonight who the top two would be, and then, if that's acceptable, invite the top two back for interviews.
Okay.
And I have a couple questions, comments. On this, having never been through the evaluation process, just looking at the 5 factors to be rated, could you just maybe touch on it? I know we've you know, I've tallied up my own tally, but just from a standpoint of, you know, honing in so that you can look at and there's some kind of continuity to the scoring. Like, for example, under item 3 where it says credit rating as one of the factors in the 1 to 15, and then financial stability. Well, within the 4 that were submitted, only 1 really made mention of being in good standing. And so in a rating system, it's kind of, there's more than one thing per that item number 3. So within that, how strongly on my score, so one person could score an 11 out of 15, the other 3 admitted it, so then am I automatically downgrading them to a 2 or a 3? So that, I mean, could you just speak to it a little bit? And then, as you know, in my own mind, I've looked at them as to, you know, what I think is a ranking, but on the factors to be rated, it doesn't really come clearly as to, you know.
I think there's 4 folks here tonight who are going to submit score sheets. I don't think Ms. Gilroy got a score sheet to submit in a package before she was appointed to the board. But anyway, so out of those 4, this is what I expect. Having been on a number of these selection committees in the past, and in my brain, I know how somebody should be scored, having gone through 10 or 12 of these things, and so I can do that. The person sitting next to me is going to have a totally different outlook on things. So I don't think that, Greg, I don't think that I could narrow it down and say this is how it should be done. This is it's subjective, but it's trying to be as objective as we can on a subjective basis.
Right. So in the end, whatever your score is, the person that, in my own rating system, that scored highest, and that correlates to Matt's being high, at the end.
Here's one standard, something that I zeroed in on. You take a look at the size of the project and what a project cost, and I know about some of the places that they were talking about, Fernandina Beach, Palm Beach County. I mean, I've been to those places, so I know, and I would be able to make kind of an objective, subjective choice. But it's all going to be different from person to person. So I'm sure that doesn't make any sense, but.
I know, I mean, from a standpoint of, it's important. I looked at them, I understand in my heart of like who I ranked highest and who I ranked lowest. I feel like they all offer similar aspects. They're all, you know, I'm sure qualified, but within those I have my own ranking of who I thought was first and who I thought was fourth.
Well, in this whole process, so it's kind of a, for lack of a better term, a natural selection process. So this natural selection will bubble up with each of the 4, and I'm thinking, you know, the top 2, probably going to be made a liar here, the top 2 are going to be the same for everybody almost, so we'll just have to see. Okay.
Are there any more questions for Mr. Griffith? Because if not, so Karen, so you only have, how many do you have out of 4 up here now, response? Without calling out any names, just how many do you have?
I haven't done
Yes, without calling out names, just.
I have mine also.
I do not have mine.
Well, we need to turn them in to Karen, and Karen would look at the top ones, or how we go? 'Cause
Yep, I just got my packet.
yeah. Mr. Griffin, we have one more here.
All right.
Great.
Otherwise, it's not working the table.
Well, I had mine too.
Okay, give us a few seconds, okay?
No, because I forgot to pick the packet up.
I thought she did, didn't you say she had it? I thought she said she had it.
Sort of.
We only have 2 for Little John and 2 for Sand County.
What?
We only have 2 for Little John and 2 for Sand County. Did anyone not? Out of the 3 people who submitted.
I thought I'm sorry, here, I didn't give you my other 2, I just gave you my top 2. You want all 4?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you just wanted the top 2.
Yeah, we go by the overall score.
Sorry. You're welcome.
I will make a comment. After reading this, I know part of the debate was, whether we could do this ourselves or not do this ourselves. After reading this for me verified that this is not something I can do for myself, and I feel much better having a third-party consultant saying, these are the things to consider. Because when you start looking at the breadth of what's in here, to me, this justifies why you need a master plan. So, just while we're waiting.
And then to be able to go through it and you see how many, like Mr. Griffith said, if you have a chance to visit some of the other parks throughout the state, and which I have had a chance to visit, not all of them, but some of them, like who are from Florida, I've been to some of those parks. And to be able to see how much is imposed, and they talked about the CADs, and I think it is GIS, and so it was pretty interesting to see. Cause I know a little bit about the CAD, although I'm not a computer architect design thing, but I do know a little bit about it. So to be able to see how much details are in there, it's amazing. So like you said, I know we can do this by ourselves.
Yeah.
80.
You're from Georgia. However, we'll see something interesting.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. Okay, by our calculations, the Academy has determined that Little John and Tyndale are the top 2 vote getters.
Tyndale and Little John.
So from this standpoint, Mr. Griffith, do we need to do anything as far as?
Well, we'll do this. Tonight I think we're finished with this, unless you have something else, another assignment for me. But what we will do is we will verify these numbers tomorrow, make sure we haven't made a mistake, and that's certainly possible. We'll verify these numbers tomorrow. We will contact the 2 submitters who came out in the top, and we will see if they want to come up for an interview with you at our next meeting.
Okay.
And they can make a presentation. At that point, what the normal protocol is that, you make your first and second pick, and then, I suggest that staff go into negotiations with, number one, as far as the money. And then if we think that that is reasonable, whatever those negotiations come out, we will bring that forward to you folks, and then we'll press on with life and take it to council eventually. So, now, if in negotiations we think that their financial proposal is unreasonable, then we go to number two. Is that acceptable?
That sounds good. Any questions on the board? So, other than that, thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
So the next will be the staff members. So I don't have any comments or questions about anything other than I have nothing at all. So I want to start with Ms. Gilroy. Do you have any? I apologize, staff.
Yeah, we have a few things.
Okay, I apologize. I forgot board and staff.
Ms. Moore has a couple things.
One thing so far. Okay. Only been here a couple months. One of the things that has become very important in my life as not only community development director, but also the CRA manager and the parks administrator is Riverview Park. Politically, there's whatever going on, but I'm looking at it from a perspective of the trees, the health of the trees, the age of the trees. So I went ahead and I had a tree inventory and risk assessment done on the trees in the park. There are 118 water and live oaks. There are 118 palms. Of those 118 oaks, 6 oaks need to be removed. They are determined to be very high risk, and then also have the stump ground. And then another 86 oaks are considered to be moderate to high risk with limbs falling and branches breaking. They just need some pruning to bring them back into a healthy state and not be a risk. So, talking with the arborist, this work will be done over the course of 2, maximum 3 days. We can phase it by closing part of the park or the whole park, but just get it done. It won't take a week or anything. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention that this will be happening within the next couple of weeks, definitely before 4th of July.
Is it possible for the board members to get a list of those findings that you have, just for us just to be able to look at to see, or I can get those, it would be able to help me to be able to see which parks they may be located at. Because he says there's 118 live oaks.
And 118 palms, and the palms need to be pruned as well.
Okay.
I did not have a tree survey done. The cost of doing a tree inventory, where they go in and they just count the number of the different species, is a lot less than actually having someone go out there, do a boundary survey, and do a GPS location of each individual tree, and the diameter, and the species of the tree. It was about tenfold to do the tree survey. So it was a difference between $250 and $2,500 to $3,000. So I did not have a tree survey done.
Not a survey, just a list, so I can be able to see if I walk out to Schumann Park, and I'll be able to see Riverview.
Hard to think that there's 118 oak trees and then 100 and some at one park.
Riverview?
It's a lot of trees.
Oh, gotcha. I misunderstood. I was listening, but the vice chair just said it's only at Riverview Park, so that's fine. So it's easy. So I can walk out there, I can see it. So I'll remove my question. I apologize.
Yeah, just Riverview. And yeah, it's a lot more trees than I thought. I'd gone out there, I've been out there many times looking at the trees, and I thought that there was about a third of that there.
Wow.
But I was just looking at the ones that were kind of sketchy looking, that needed some attention. So yeah, there's a lot of trees there.
That's a lot. I never thought of it.
As far as, I just have like a couple paragraph report from the arborist, so it's not a long drawn out thing. I mean, I can certainly provide that to you, not a problem.
That's fine. I just thought it was, I misunderstood what you said, so
How many
I thought
trees
it was
per
that
part and
all
stuff
the
is what
parts,
you,
but you just only narrowed down Riverview, so everything is fine.
Okay.
I apologize.
I have one question. To the arborist, if they could talk to whether the traffic to the trees is doing anything to do anything to their health or potential mitigating future risk as far as, we've talked about this before, of not just the foot traffic, but the motor traffic as well? Did they address that there are trees in moderate to high risk, possibly based on vehicular traffic, and if we cut that out, would that extend the life of our trees? Was that part of a discussion?
So the arborist that I had out, I had 3 arborists, horticulturists, master horticulturists from the University of Florida, and I also spoke with the state urban forester about this situation with getting the inventory and assessment done. All of them agreed that there should be no vehicle traffic in the park, that because of the age of the trees, and then the root systems, and there aren't really any areas where there aren't any root systems, that it is, yes, definitely damaging the trees, and then that ends up damaging, the roots, and then damaging the tree, can reduce the lifespan of the tree. Then in that report I received from the arborist who did the work, it does specifically say we highly stress, or we highly encourage that no more vehicular traffic occur because of the stress to the root systems.
If I could add to that, there's actually an ordinance that prohibits vehicles in our parks. And what the ordinance says is, where's the effect that whoever's the city manager can authorize vehicles in the park, but any other time, no vehicles in the park. So there has been this political discussion on council and behind the scenes that we have to start restricting this in order to protect the park. And this all kind of bubbled up about the time that Marisa came on board. And she was put in charge of the CRA, and a lot of things are happening in the CRA, especially with regard to landscape and trees and things like this, and craft club and art club not being allowed to drive their Grand Cherokees in the park and sell their stuff. So, which is going to tie into what I want to talk about a little bit, but we're in the process of trying to refine this without making too many people mad at one time. But there are some upset people about this. The issue is restricting use of the park to vehicles. Now consider city-sponsored events. Consider Clam Bake. Consider 4th of July. Consider the Fine Arts Festival. Although the Fine Arts Festival does not put vehicles in the park. They do a very good job of that. Lisanne does an incredible job with that. But Clam Bake. We've been in contact with Clam Bake, had our meetings of what we can get in there with the beer trucks and how we're going to do it and protect the sidewalks and the trees. So there's this heightened awareness that we're going to be taking care of this a lot more than has been done in the past. So
that's good.
Are you finished?
Unless you guys
Any questions
have any
for
more
Marisa on this?
questions.
Are there any
I'll go
questions?
into what I want to talk about.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. There is a project that we have going on in the city, a new police evidence building. And it's going to be on the police department campus and back of the police department. And we've run into a slight snag. So in front of you is the ADA playground. And frankly, we have looked all over the place as to, and I think maybe, Ms. Webster, you were on this board when this got instituted, and I think it was about 2006, 2005, somewhere in there. Frankly, we've never seen anyone out there utilizing this playground. We are going to need this space for this police evidence building and appropriate parking for the area. This is what I'm proposing. To move this ADA playground, because I don't know if you all have ever been out there, but that surface that it sits on is a cushiony surface, and it's very, very expensive. The quote that we've received to move this is $40,000. That's what I did too. That's where I just couldn't believe it. There is only
To
one...
utilize it, but just to move the pad, or the,
Just to move the pad part.
Okay.
That's correct. I'm proposing that, and there's only one device there that is an ADA device. There is a couch type swing. That's all. I'm proposing that we move these swings and this little playground set, the little slides, over to the circular area in front of the Boys and Girls Club. It's adequate parking, it's adequate drainage, it's clean, it's available, and we will do away with the ADA portion of this playground. This will facilitate us making this move for the police evidence building. There's a lot of money invested in this police evidence building. It's necessary. I won't tell you where the police evidence building is right now, but in my view, it's a beer can, and we need to do something with that with regard to our accreditation and security, and to properly house the evidence that the police department takes in when there's a crime. So, with that in mind, unless I hear some big negatives about this, I'm going to proceed in that direction. This police evidence building is going to be about another, project is going to be about another year in the making, so it's going to be a while. If there's anything or any heartburn that bubbles up here, I'm also going to be taking this to council. Council's going to know about this before I pull any triggers, so I'm going to be totally upfront with them.
so when you say the circular part, so where the existing playground is, that's over there, incorporating in with the pieces that are there, or?
Yes.
That's what you meant by the circular, so the existing pad with the existing, slide right there, there's really no swings involved. The swings that you use are actually over here, so that's that back and forth.
That's correct.
So you're just gonna incorporate the swing part of it, or move the other slide structure as well?
We can use the other slide structure somewhere else in town.
Yeah, okay, so you're just moving the slide.
Just the swing.
The swings, correct.
The swing set.
Okay, I'm okay with that, because it seems redundant to move the other, climbing apparatus.
There's another climbing apparatus
Correct.
over on the north side of the,
Right, it's very similar.
Boys
So
and
you're just
girls.
really just relocating the swings. That
That's
seems
correct.
fine.
So nobody really uses this park?
They really don't,
No.
unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it.
Well,
The swing
maybe-
part, I've been on that equipment with my children, but, it is the only, so if you're coming here, so it's two things. It's like, it's the climbing structure, and then there's a swing set, so they're separated. So, it actually, to me, makes more sense to have it in one spot.
Correct.
So,
I agree.
to me, it actually makes more sense to have the swings next to the climbing structure in which you have, instead of walking back and forth.
Right.
Maybe one day we could have like the Field of Dreams that they just opened up in West Melbourne.
I'm sorry, say it again.
It's called the Field of Dreams. It's a playground area for, special needs
Mm-hmm.
in Melbourne. And it's pretty fantastic, so.
Maybe, Marissa, you could make a note of that, Field of Dreams up in Melbourne, and we'll take,
That's what it's called.
Yeah, I actually had, started looking at ADA
Yeah.
accessible playground equipment, just in general.
It's
So,
just, it could be a goal, down the road.
Well, that's, to me, is also gonna be part of the master plan. That's specifically too, of looking at the population use, the use of what's in your community, and the ability to be ADA accessible. So,
there's another
that's also
issue.
where we're moving to. I would love to see that we incorporate, as you do future plans, to make things that they're more ADA accessible, just in any new structure we put in.
Yeah, that park's not just for, ADA, it's for everybody, but it's, I hear it's pretty fantastic.
Mr. Griffin, is it possible or feasible to just take the ADA swing and have maybe a small portion of the surface around that, so that we at least still have the swing, and possibly you could go from the sidewalk right to the surface, and then just have some surrounding?
That's a good idea. Hadn't
Is
thought
that
about that.
possible?
Now, we'll have to have some concrete connectivity, obviously, from the parking area.
Right.
We'll take care of that, we thought of that, but we didn't think about this. So that's a pretty good idea, so that would reduce that cost.
Yes.
Just
So,
a small portion
right.
around the one
Yeah.
swing that is ADA.
Good idea, yes, ma'am.
See what we
I'll check
could do,
that out.
maybe. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Kareem, was there any questions?
I was wondering, is it the city property, or is it?
Yes.
Oh, it is?
Just right here. Yes.
The other question I was thinking about was, does the Boys Club, is somebody there aware of what
That's also our
the
property.
future is?
The Boys and Girls Club is ours.
Okay.
And, so,
'Cause I don't know if it
You know,
would affect their programming or anything like
I mean, I'll vet
I
this
think
with
it would be
them.
a
I'm not
benefit
just
for
gonna
them.
Yeah.
pull the trigger and do something without them knowing it. So I know the guy who runs the place over there, so I'll let
Andrew.
them know. Yes, ma'am.
So the accessibility for the outsiders in the event Boys and Girls have something going on, it wouldn't contradict with anything as far as the outside public wanting to utilize it?
I think, actually, it would complement it more.
Okay.
It would be, this would, this would obviously be closer to the Boys and Girls Club.
Yes.
And if kids are waiting for their parents as they drive around, I think it'd just complement it more.
them more.
People just don't go over there. It's just, I've never seen anyone there since 2005 or 6.
And I've been there.
Yeah.
I think it's a help all the way around too, and everyone seem to convey that too, so everyone is in agreement with that, so that's.
Okay, I'll work on that, and, that's not tomorrow, but it's gonna be in the works. There's another item I have to, talk about. I wanna talk about the kayak launch, since that was on the agenda tonight, and we were talking about this. I'll pass these out.
Thank you.
This really isn't a very good picture, but that's a little better orientation. A few council meetings ago, well, let me back up prior to that. We've had some real abuses in the kayak launch area. We've had people just drive over there and leave their cars. We've had people cross the sidewalks, go down to the sand area. This is before we had the oyster mats, but still it happens. And go down there and leave their cars there and it's been a police issue, it's been a citizen issue because citizens get all amped up about somebody doing something that they don't think they should be doing, and we went through a couple evolutions of locking the gate and then unlocking the gate. And I don't know if you all remember how all of this got started, but the previous city manager kind of unlocked the gate and established a kayak launch there. Okay, that's how it happened. And then what I did a couple meetings ago, 4 council meetings ago, whatever it was try to reaffirm with council what they wanted to do with this area, because it's kind of a free-for-all. They said they wanted to keep it a kayak launch area. I said, okay, that's fine, but give me the authorization to go in there and asphalt it, install some sort of prepared surface so that the cars don't abuse this, and the people understand what we're serious about protecting this area. Now, given any permits that I might have to jump through fiery hoops on, we would do, obviously. But this is a very rough drawing. Excuse me, I forgot my pointer. And actually, I think Michelle oriented this wrong. She flipped this little L thing. It should be flipped the other way to where the turnaround was to the north, over in this area. I don't know if you can see that. Because right here is the kayak launch, and here are the oyster mats. So, as I say, council gave me direction to work towards this and to do something about this and get this going. I wanted to bring this forward to you folks tonight because this is going to tie into the next thing I'm going to talk about, because we could be using Parks and Rec money to get this done. So, and what we would do, we would probably install a fence along here, one of those low fences as we have in Riverview Park. I'm sorry, sir?
Wooden?
Wooden fence.
Right.
Yes. To prevent with an opening, obviously, a pedestrian opening, but to prevent the cars from crossing the sidewalk and interfering with the dog walkers and really upsetting
Mr. Grimm,
everybody.
show me one more time where you just pointed to for the fence. The yellow line, okay.
Roughly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, roughly, right, the yellow line. But, Michelle, this is kind of flipped, and that's wrong. I think she thought that was, right there is that's where we had the Sebastian, symbol there. That became unserviceable, we had to do something about that. I thought she thinks that that's the kayak launch, it's not, obviously. It should be flipped, but anyway, I'll work that out. And, I mean, she just threw this together. I asked her to do something this afternoon.
So that blue line should be actually, so you intending to still keep that sandy area for the launch of the kayak versus where this line's going to where the marquee is?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Okay? So, I wanted to get that in front of you tonight. And now, the main event.
Can I ask one other question on this?
Yes, sir.
Because I'm an avid kayaker, I own 6. So this, the green lines, then that is, what is that, like a concrete area where the grass grows through, or are you patting it in, or, I mean, what is just explain what that proposal is.
I was thinking about the quasi-pervious, pavers.
Right.
I like that.
Right.
I'm gonna see what the permitting hoops we have to jump through and what they'll want. It could be a St. John's, it could be a DEP thing. I don't know yet. This is all
and then, maybe you're getting to this. So when the idea would be then that this is an open, dedicated area where you, and the signage would say you can pull in, drop off, and then utilize parking, and you're prohibited from leaving your vehicle there, but it's strictly for loading and unloading of a kayak and et cetera.
We have installed some signs.
And trailers.
I think there's some signs out here, right at the drive entrance, and some signs over here, 5 minutes or 10 minutes drop off only. Of course, nobody adheres to that, or 50% don't. And then there's a sign right about in this area for the oyster mats.
Okay.
Because what I've seen, I mean, personally, what I always carried mine in, but what I've also seen is people then entering just north of the sign that says, Pelican Island, or, home of whatever, that sign that's right there, on the north side of that, and cross the sidewalk. So that fence that you have proposed, whether you would possibly need to look at it on the north part of that curve too, so that people then aren't, you have an idea of where you want people to go versus, prohibiting people from still circumventing and going on the north side. Does that make sense? You see where?
I see what you mean, and obviously, this is a very rough concept.
Right, but I am saying that people
So the city engineer is going to have to
Right.
take care of this and do it the right way.
But one of the pathways for people is not just the gate. They come from on the north part of that sign and drive down that way on this side of that curved sidewalk. That's what I also witness.
You mean over in here?
So I don't have to get up and point, but
I'm sorry, yeah, I use it all the time. So when the gate was always locked, a lot of kayakers got in the habit of coming up over the berm and then up the sidewalk, and they're still doing it, even though the gate is open. I see it very frequently, of them driving, so they drive up this way. So there's the gate's here, they come across here and up the sidewalk here. And if they just keep doing it. I don't know why. I don't know. It's become habit.
Who says these kayakers are environmentalists?
I'm not saying all, but, most
there are some of us who are stewards, but I am also pointing out my other people who are not, and being an avid kayaker, that's where I see people, I'm parked here to carry mine in, and people are driving around me on the north part of that and going into the water. So just you're aware, so that I like the plan, but I also want to make it that we don't do all this and then leave out a part of, there's nothing to deter them from getting it there. Whether we berm that you can't, You know,
But it's no ordinance.
aesthetically, maybe it's nice that we just do, you know, again, from a master plan or something, you could burn that little piece right there and put some plants and other things on it. Doesn't impede anybody else. That's maybe even nicer than doing a fence, but there's no way you're gonna get a truck or a trailer or anything up over that.
But there's no ordinance at all that prevents this from happening? There's an ordinance for,
The ordinance says, as I said before, that there are no vehicles allowed in the park unless whoever the city manager is at the time authorizes it.
yes,
So, I mean, these folks are breaking the law.
exactly, that's what I'm saying, there's no ordinance in
Now,
place to, yes.
we
Having
have-
said that, if it's a kayak launch, to try to make it so that it's user-friendly at the same time.
Exactly. You know, council has said they want to keep the kayak launch, so we're going to do that.
Yes,
So I'm going to try to make it work, but maybe we have to put one of those little bucky fences around there to block the guys and gals from jumping the berm and things. I didn't know that was going on.
Yes,
That's new to me.
because it seems like it's a whole lot that they're doing to circumvent the situation, which ordinance,
Well, they're heavy. I mean, in defense, they're trying to get as close to the water, and in the absence of having a rule, that's what I'm saying. If you build it in such a way that it's clear, which is good, I fully support it, and then just making sure that we, you know, for the knuckleheads, make it that they can't circumvent it.
yes, but then if they do circumvent it, and the ordinance if they do circumvent it, then the ordinance will be in place to keep the
But you're not gonna have the police down there all day.
yes, I mean, but in driving.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You can't do that.
Can't do
So
it.
putting something there to impede their
Right, exactly.
entrance would
So
be the
we're
best
just
thing to
going to
do.
have to,
I understand.
we'll have to figure something out.
Yes,
But generally speaking, this is kind of acceptable to the board, correct?
yes.
Correct.
Okay, the next, the main event here is, I wish I could take credit for this, but this wasn't my idea.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody knows, everybody has oriented themselves, I think, here. The Veterans Memorial, this is the four chaplains, Sportsman's Lodge, ice cream shop, splash pad. This so-called overflow parking has always been, you know, a huge question mark. It's even been more of a question mark than Cavcor has been. And at the next council meeting, you're going to see us bring forward to council a plan to get the Cavcor project done. The bids have been opened, we've negotiated a contract, and that's going to happen. So we're going to be able to do something about the Cavcor lot, which is going to start, hopefully, if everything goes according to Hoyle, right after the 4th of July. So we have this done for clam bake, but this is the problem. And one of the things that, how this bubbled to the surface is the craft clubs and art clubs of the world who want to pull their vehicles into Riverview Park, and the heat that I've caught from them. But then on the other side, council's pushing to get that stabilized, and Marissa's yelling at me about, we've got to protect the trees. So, actually, Mayor McPartland came up with this idea. It's always been my wish to get more disabled handicap parking down at the Veterans Memorial. So I wanted that done, number one. He wanted a way to facilitate entry-exit into this lot, something that's a standardized type of entry-exit and not a free-for-all that happens down there all the time, and to do something about, frankly, the drainage down there and making it more just aesthetically nicer than this big open field. So, what we have here is this racetrack pattern, but this road is 10 feet wide and it's only one way. Entrance would be here, and exit, because this is wide enough, but entrance would be here, and then if you make a right turn, it's one way And then you could exit here into the shops over to the ice cream store, or you could continue around. There would be another entrance off that little parking area, and one way you could either exit or go around the circle again if you like. So what would we gain from this? We would gain an area where, this is just a hypothetical, if, let's say the craft club says, Mom and Pop is mad about us not allowing them into Riverview Park, they would be able to now utilize this to pull their Grand Cherokee in there and pop the back and do their craft club stuff, whatever they do. And we would be able to have uniform parking in here. We'd rope it off for clam bake, big events, things like that, parking along here. And we have kind of a standardized, uniform parking area that is not all asphalt, but yet we still have access to, and it still can be uniform and utilized. Plus, I gain all these disabled parking spaces that border our Veterans Memorial. So, I'm proposing that we utilize recreation impact fees for this, along with the kayak launch. And I don't have a number on this, but this is going to be massaged for the next couple months. I'm going to take this in front of council. Once we get a little more engineering, this is just our concept. So we get a little more engineering here. I get a firm number on this from Frank, our city engineer, and we press forward and see if council likes it. I just wanted to see what you all thought of this.
I have a question. I like it. So, as part of, one of the problems is drainage. So if you're still using, I'm assuming you're still using the green space in the oval as parking, correct?
Yes.
So is there anything then over time that, obviously the road is passable, but let's say like we had the rain like we just did, and that happens to coincide with coming up to the Clam Bake Festival or 4th of July, and that thing turns into Okeechobee Mud Fest. Is there anything that we can do to help that, and what might that do by ovaling that in as well, by then the water not being able to maybe go somewhere?
We've talked about this.
I understand that's a rough sketch, but that's just a question.
It's a huge part of this, and it's very frustrating because this can be a quagmire. I don't know if y'all down there, when do we have that big rain in January or something like that? It was just awful. It took months. We had to rope it off. Didn't allow people in there because it was so bad. But anyway, this is our ditch along here, by the way. That's our ditch. It might be that we raise the elevation with soil and we have it sheet flow to the east, okay? And then we have a ditch over on this side, run it down here to connect to this ditch. It would be an open ditch, it would be retention, open ditch, but that was one solution. There's got to be more from the engineering standpoint, but Frank will figure it out.
Corinne, would you have anything to add? Rosemary?
I'm a little bit confused here. Now, are we going to now use that area as the staging area for the craft show and everything, or is this just strictly parking?
The reason to do this is parking. But if craft show wanted to use this, they could use it.
Rather than in the park.
Now, by the way, what we're doing with the craft show and the art club and things like that, we purchased 12 pull carts. And I guess we have them at the compound? Or do we have them down at the... We have them down at the park now?
They're at the compound in the trailers.
Okay. So when there's an event down there, we get those things down there, and folks can use those pull carts, leave their cars out there at the drop-off, unload, take their stuff over to their little, display area, and give the cart to somebody else and use it. So we bought 12 of those things for those folks. So they have them. Just spitball them, what could happen here, people could pull in here and they could operate out of their cars right here. I mean, it would be available. If they wanted to use it, fine. If they don't want to use it, fine. We still need a regimented, standardized, not a free-for-all place to park. And this would do it, I think.
And in the middle there, that would be where people would be parking,
Yes,
and that's just the accesses to get in and out. It's going to be one flow of vehicular traffic.
that's correct.
Okay.
And we'd set up aisles like we do for, clam bake and big events. We'd set up rope aisles and things like that and make it more standardized. Also over in here, we could have parking over in here, and we'd do the rope aisle thing.
Okay.
And, I think actually it would add to the parking if we
think it
made
would,
it
too.
standardized, because sometimes it's just a free-for-all, and then you can't get as many cars
Even in the
there as
current rope
otherwise.
system, you lose parking on just trying to make that be able to weave back and forth to get
Correct.
in and out.
Right. So,
Joanne?
Well, I'm excited, because I have personal experience parking cars, weekends for the clam bake and for the art festival.
Little League stuff, yeah.
Little League has done the parking for the clam bake and the, art show.
Right.
So this is brilliant. I wanted it to be, it's like somebody read my brain. It should be one way. It should be one way in and one way out, because there's so many times that there's just so many people that you can't, you can't do it, and you have to shut it down. Everybody's pissed or mad. And it can be a nightmare. It can be really a nightmare. I would suggest, because like I said, I got a lot of experience with this, I would suggest up against the Indian River Drive, if you could mark, see how you have handicapped here? It's a good spot for handicap, but if you can come up the river, because it's closer to people to get to walk on, when it's closed. They can walk on that, cement roadway. So much easier with wheelchairs and walkers and
Right.
than walking in the dirt or on the road with cars coming. So that's an idea to get more handicap parking. But this is brilliant, and I think, I'm so excited to see it.
Well, this was Bob McPartland's idea, and Frank Watanabe, the engineer, really thought of the one-way option. So, yeah, I think the one-way thing is good.
It's the only, it's,
It's the only way to do it, because
Oh
you
my
get
God,
conflicting stuff, and it's a mess.
and if people know, if it's marked,
Yeah, I would have it marked, obviously.
it's marked well down at the, at Indian River at the end, so the people
Right.
know that they're coming in here and they don't turn in to go in the
Exactly.
other way.
Right.
So, it's excellent.
And most of the time when it comes
Oh,
time...
actually, they can come in here
Yes.
and go around the loop.
But most of the time when the parking does take place, it's always enough, in the past, there's always enough individuals to direct.
Have you ever done it?
I've never done parking.
It's exciting.
But
No,
I've
there's
been a
never
part of
enough
those events,
individuals
yeah.
to do it, so,
But here, like, having those individuals at those certain ends, well, once you have it identified which way they're gonna go in and then come out of, I think it's Bill.
if you get the parking going from 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning, and you have everybody going right, then it'll stay good for you the rest of the day.
Yes.
If somebody's parking sticking out onto the roadway, they screw up the whole parking for everybody. So this is
Yes,
really good.
This is great, because from looking at it right now, it's like you have entities where you can bring cars in from almost directions as far as parking it when those big events do take place. And then when it comes time for them to exit, you got a certain pattern flow to get them out of there.
Yeah,
So it was just
this is
real
perfect.
good. Exactly.
Well, there's some fire hoops to jump through,
Yes.
to get this going. I don't know about the permitting, although Frank seems to think doesn't have to be permitted because it's less than 2 acres and all that stuff with St. John's, but we'll see. And then the other thing, I'm gonna have to get this through council, so see
And
if
even
they
if
buy
you
it.
do it just in dirt, make a dirt roadway and mark it somehow, kind of that, until you can get the
Well, I think we're committed
Asphalt.
to trying to do something with the paving.
Good.
Yeah.
Just to keep it cleaner and,
Mhm.
you get the dirt in there, and then you get the heavy rains, and then you get the big bird baths out there, and it's just, Cavcore is such an embarrassment because of all those big areas with puddles, and so.
I know it'd be kinda hard to just say right away, but you have an idea how much it would impact the recreation impact fees? Just have to wait.
Well,
for
that's the
law.
other issue, I don't know.
Okay.
And I really don't.
Okay.
I'm just gonna have to let them, cost it out. I don't even wanna speculate.
And it would come from across the board with from all the zones, right?
Sure.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so everyone,
Oh, I'm in favor of
It
that.
and it has to come from the recreation impact fees?
Well, the other option is DST, but frankly, this is park-related. I think it
Worth,
It's new, it's all-
supports the park, and coming from all the zones, so, I think
people
that's
come
fair.
from everywhere.
yeah.
So when you have a big cluster out there and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's putting out Sebastian, when people come from everywhere to go to these festivals.
Right,
And
exactly.
when they get mad because they can't get turned around, they can't get in, this is just, it's a benefit.
Well, we'll, you know, modify and we'll, gussy this up a little bit and get it going, but, I'll be back to you and let you know how this transpires, okay? Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
I'm so excited.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin. Karen, anything?
No.
Okay, now we're at the board. We're gonna start, Corinne, do you have anything to say about it? 'Cause we're at, item number 12.
No, I don't have anything on that.
Rosemary?
I was happy to hear that the palm trees are gonna be, cleaned up, 'cause there's quite a few in there, and then hopefully, if we can get some over to the George Street Park also, that would be a benefit. And I don't know, do we need to assign Corinne her parks?
Okay. And Karen, would you have, a list of,
John, I guess John's parks would
park,
be
it's
hers
the parks,
park?
John, so, John, would you mind coming up so we'll know which park you had? Okay?
Not that we are not thinking that you're also gonna keep an eye on those
Yes.
parks, but
Yeah, I can't leave that quick. I had Filbert and, I think,
Is it Easy Street?
you have Schumann. And maybe Bryan Court, I can't remember, yeah. It was Filbert and one other one, yeah.
And Karen, would you have a list of all the board, okay, what we can do is, at the interim, or not the interim. Just do Filbert. We can try like, do Filbert, just, and what it is just that, just periodically you can drive through there and look at the park and see how, like, it's being used, or if any damage is being is occurring, or, if you see anything else that may could add to it by listening to the input from the community there, to be able to see what could be added to it. And so that's
It's
something that we.
just Filbert at this
I think it was
point?
Bryan Court too,
Yes, that's
I
right.
think, yeah.
Yeah.
And then just a reminder about the Memorial Day celebration in the Veterans Park on Memorial Day. Thank you.
Now, I just want to apologize for not picking up my packet and being prepared today, so I'm sorry. And, Little League has tournaments out there. There's Big League playing. I think there's 16, 17, 18-year-olds playing tournaments, and, All-Stars starts end of June, beginning of June. That's it.
Great.
I do not have anything else at this time.
And I have nothing at all. Other than that, our June 27th meeting,
Motion to adjourn?
Second. Like a race.
we adjourn. The 27th.